This is the resistance. If you can hear this, you are not alone. This is the resistance.
Number one is confusion. Teaching children pointless concepts that have nothing to do with their everyday lives. Lesson number two is aggression. Being violent towards students, showing their force as supposed authority figures. Here's a principal body slamming a student. He physically picks him up and body slams him. This is a 15-year-old boy. They need to assert themselves as superior to the minority students.
He's like, don't make me slam you in front of everybody. And I was like, I don't think you can do that.
Now, let's take a look at some of the notable founders of public schooling. One of the founders was John D. Rockefeller, from the notorious Rockefeller banking family. He would not have any ulterior motives to create public schooling now, would he? Well, John was a banker. Our curriculum nowadays says that banker bailouts are good for the economy, the Federal Reserve is essential for the economy, and that banks, central banks, and even times world banks are needed for economic flow. These are all ideas that John Rockefeller supported vividly. John Rockefeller did not give a hand in public schooling to educate children. He did this to further his agendas. Another founder is J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan is a famous banker, insurance mogul, you name it. They teach us nowadays that the IRS is definitely a constitutional, legal, moral agency. They teach us that the income tax is needed. All ideas that Mr. Rockefeller and Mr. Morgan supported. School was created for these individuals' selfish interests. Other founders include Andrew Carnegie and hundreds of other oil moguls, money moguls, bankers, politicians. They had their hand in this for reasons far from education.
A complete overreaction. That statement tonight from New York City's Department of Education over the treatment of a 12-year-old student. She was hauled out of class in handcuffs by police for doodling "I love my friends" on her desk.
Well, yesterday the school notified my wife that my son had brought a toy gun to school and that he was facing possible suspension. And I remember like the toy my son was playing with in the morning. And I said, "It can't be the same gun he's talking about."
So I click and there's an observe button and it brings up their screen. Photo booth is always fun. They don't even realize that we're watching. I always like to mess with them and take a picture.
I think we would all agree that schools are the preset for work and jobs. And your whole goal is to get an education so that you can go make money and become successful. You're always taught that monetary value equals success, and that getting a job will complete your education. That's exactly what the elites want you to do. You go to school where you have a set schedule. You need to do certain things by a certain date. You need to take certain classes so you can learn these specific things. Everything gets you ready for a job where you also have a set schedule with due dates where you have to do certain things. All while you're at your 9-to-5 job. You were never educated enough to realize that the Federal Reserve, banks, oligarchs are raping you of your money, that illegal agencies are repossessing people's homes and vehicles. You are never educated enough to question what's going on outside of your own community. It's all compartmentalized, and that's why you go to school. While you're busy learning quadratic equations, the deficit is building and building and building, and your future is being destroyed. But you've been conditioned and taught that if you go to school and get a job, you've succeeded. As long as you're at a 9-to-5 job, you've succeeded. This is exactly what the elites want. Because there are certain families, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, that control money, they control politics, they control the media. So what happens is you get a job at a grocery store, you get a job as a consultant, you get a job as a car salesman, and you're satisfied with that, while they're still running anything and everything important. When a student speaks out against these issues, when a student questions the teachings in their school, for example, when a student questions a teacher on his reasoning, he is red flagged. It's a term I use to describe the treatment that happens to these students. First, they surveil you, like 1984 in the present. School officials follow you throughout the day. School officials make a file for you and keep track of what you're doing. They even keep logs on your personal social networking sites like Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube to make sure that you're not questioning their school. Getting back to the main point of what public schools are really intended to achieve, there's corruption in every field. There's corruption in business, economics, education, sports, television, you name it. There's corruption in the education system. People always have alternative motives for making actions. Well, not always, but most of the time. Founders of public schooling had their own hand in oil, economics, and they had their own reasons for not wanting people to be intelligent. As radical as this may sound to you, it's plausible. If I was running a fraud or a scam, if I was swindling people out of their money, would I want them to be intelligent or developed enough to see through my lies? Would I want them to be able to expose me? No, I wouldn't. And that's why John Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, and hundreds of other corrupt founders of public school allow you to achieve and learn up to a certain level. They feel that they are superior when we are all just human beings. When you send your children to school, they basically hand over their rights and bow down to the faculty there instead of being treated like equal people. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from John Taylor Gatto's book, Dumbing Us Down. John was a teacher of 29 years, an award-winning New York teacher, and he sums it up very well. We've built a way of life that depends on people doing what they are told because they don't know how to tell themselves what to do. If we're going to be completely open-minded and honest with the situation, we need to recognize that there is a set social, political, and economic order. There's the Republicans and the Democrats. There's the Federal Reserve that controls our money. It's that way, and that's the way that certain people want it to stay. And maybe these people don't want us to base our own financial and economic opinions, to base our own political ideologies. They want us to believe what's in our textbooks. And that's what schools provide us with. The things that they want us to believe. The things that the ruling oligarchs would love for us to agree with. It's sad because you're actually given the false illusion of choice when you go to school. Which public school you get to attend, which college you go to, and at even times what you're going to major in. But in all realities, it's a monopoly. It's like whether you're going to get your phone from Alltel or Verizon, whether you're going to shop at Target or Walmart. You're not really getting a choice. You're learning the same old rhetoric that supports globalism, one economic order, and one world order. Research what I'm saying right now and understand that the American education system is a social engineering structure that wants to shape children's minds into sucking in popular belief, popular culture, instead of becoming young adults who can make critical choices, critical thinking. They've destroyed critical thinking abilities far before high school.